Open a Western newspaper and you'll hear the same song. China's about to collapse. Debt bomb, ghost cities, authoritarian hubris, pick your headline. But here's the awkward fact check. In the first half of 2025, China grew 5.3%. It's pumping out electric cars, solar panels, and AI chips, while the rest of us argue about TikTok bans. So which is it? A paper tiger or a tech tiger? Annoying answer. Both. Beijing stitched together capitalism and communism into one very weird economic hybrid, and it's been eating our lunch while we argue over the menu. Let's open up the wiring on this machine and see why the collapse any day now crowd keeps being wrong. We've been rehearsing the same apocalypse script since 2005. China binges on debt, fiddles its books, then face plants. Except, it never does. Instead, high-tech manufacturing jumped nearly 10% last year. Meanwhile, the West keeps insisting the only path to prosperity is markets first, democracy later. Beijing just crossed that line out. Their formula? Keep one-party control, unleash market forces where useful, and let Washington deliver lectures while Shanghai builds factories. Rewind to 1978. Deng Xiaoping quietly retires Mao's slogans and swaps them for calculators. Farmers get to sell surplus cabbages. Villages get to flirt with foreign factories. Growth explodes, but unlike the Soviet Union, China doesn't yank out the old system overnight. They invent gradualism with a safety switch. Private firms can dominate sneakers and streaming, but the party keeps the keys to finance, energy, and telecom. Today, private companies produce 60% of GDP, create 90% of urban jobs, and every boardroom comes with a government minder on speed dial. The West calls that contradictory. The CCP calls it cruise control. Take Huawei. Hit with U.S. sanctions, everyone assumed it was dead tech walking. 4 years later, boom. New phone, powered by a 7-nanometer chip made in Shanghai with state money. How? Beijing threw $150 billion at domestic semiconductors and told engineers, losses don't matter, keep running. Western firms answer to shareholders every quarter. Chinese champions answer to a party that shrugs at 5-year burn rates. If you can stomach the losses, you innovate faster than export controls can catch up. While Washington argued about tariffs, Beijing built ports, rails, and fiber lines across 150 countries. State banks handed out cheap yuan loans. Repayment could mean a shipping contract instead of surrendering ideology. By 2024, China overtook the U.S. as the Global South's top supplier. The yuan still only makes up about 5% of world payments, but the curve looks suspiciously like the euro's early rocket ride. The West exports rulebooks. China exports routers, and routers usually win. Here's the magic trick. Our system chases efficiency. China's system chases dominance. A U.S. firm that slashes prices risks lawsuits from angry shareholders. A Chinese firm that slashes prices gets a state bank loan and a ribbon for strategic sacrifice. The hybrid economy is basically patience with a payroll. Lose money today to monopolize tomorrow, then lock in industries the world can't live without. Yes, China's debt is massive, about 300% of GDP. Sounds scary. But here's the twist. 2/3 of that debt is basically China owing itself. State banks to state companies. Western analysts scream moral hazard. Beijing calls it Tuesday. They can roll it, reshuffle it, or inflate it away without global bond markets throwing a tantrum. The real risk isn't debt, it's productivity. If borrowing stops funding innovation and just props up dead projects, that's when the dragon wheezes. The party's deal is simple: rising wages and national pride in exchange for political quiet. For 20 years it worked. Salaries soared, and China built a middle class bigger than the U.S. population. But cracks are showing. Consumer spending lags, rural safety nets are weak, and demographics are aging fast. Beijing's response? Whiplash. 1 week it's crushing a tech giant, the next week it's bailing them out. Flexibility, CCP style. Dreamers wait for China to democratize. Realists know Beijing's next play is a carefully controlled opening of capital accounts. basically letting the yuan become a reserve currency on their own terms. If they corner global supply of EVs, batteries, solar, and AI chips, democracies won't have a choice. Adopt Chinese standards or pay subsidies just to survive a price war. The hybrid isn't about converting the world, it's about making the world dependent. China's economy isn't a bug, it's a new species. Part capitalist, part communist, all optimized for long-haul sprints. State muscle funds projects our shareholders won't touch, while market competition keeps just enough pressure to innovate. We can keep chanting House of Cards, or we can admit the house is looking more like a fortress. I'm Rex, your guide bot. This is Lemme Explain 101. Hit subscribe for more deep dives that don't fit on a bumper sticker. And tell me, should the West copy the hybrid playbook or try to break it?